Hi everyone. I wanted to take this video um, and use the opportunity to talk a little bit about um, the Blackboard site for the course. Make sure you guys have a sense of where to find things and um, using that information, of course, to stay current with the expectations in class. You definitely don't want to fall behind, and not knowing where things are is a terrible, terrible reason to fall behind. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of the major features of the site. Now, obviously, we won't be able to go over everything, or we could, but that video would be exhaustingly long. So what I'm going to do instead is kind of show you some of the main features, but I want to encourage you, all of you, to play around, explore the site, click on the links, go find things, play around with the resources. You can't break Blackboard, and you certainly can't break the site for the course. All the editing permissions are mine, so anything that's going to change in the class is only going to change because I change it. So get in there, click around, find things. But what I will do right now is I'm going to share my screen. So be patient. And here we go. So when you log into Blackboard and you click on the link for your course, and I'm going to use my Sociology 101 class, although all of my sociology classes are laid out in identical fashion. The content, of course, changes, but the layout in Blackboard is the same across everything that I teach. So I'm going to use Sociology 101 as an example, but you guys should have no problem navigating if you're in a social problems class or social psychology or race and ethnicity. It won't really matter. Okay, so when you log into Blackboard, you will end up, when you click on the link for the course, you will end up on the announcements page. So this is sort of the landing site for your Blackboard experience. Announcements will be posted here. I will also email the things that I post in the announcements page, and for face-to-face classes, I will also, of course, make announcements in the classroom. So the idea here is that if you're coming to class, you're checking your email, and or you're visiting Blackboard, you should be able to stay current with any reminders, any changes, any updates, anything like that. So I'm always going to take you here because this is the best place to find the most immediate information. So if you look on the left-hand side of the page, you're going to see a number of different links. So I'm going to start here with the syllabus and course document link. And you'll see that there's a course syllabus link, and there's a little bit of an orientation document that gives you some of the initial things that are going to be kind of helpful for getting started in this class. Let's take a look at the syllabus. Syllabus, you can see, is pretty long. If you look up here on the left-hand side, you'll see that this syllabus is 13 pages long. That's a pretty typical length for a syllabus in my class. They vary a little bit, but this is generally speaking what you're going to find in any of my classes. First page is just kind of an overview of what the syllabus is. There's a little bit here about a statement of understanding, which I'm going to talk about in the first week skill assessments video that you'll hopefully also watch. The most important and helpful thing about page 1, I think, is the table of contents. So if you're ever looking for a quick way to get to some information in the class, for example, you have a question about extra credit, then you can scroll down here and find extra credit, and you see that that's on page 3, and that allows you to just scroll down to page 3 and read the bit about extra credit. Or let's say you want to know what the policy is on academic honesty. You come over here to college culture and politics, and you find underneath that academic honesty, and you see that that's on page 7. So use the table of contents to kind of guide you through the syllabus, and then of course that will help you when you go back into Blackboard to find relevant information or links or assignments or things of that nature. So the second page is sort of the nuts and bolts of the class. This is how to reach me. There's an email link. There is a phone number. I don't recommend that if you're trying to reach me, you call me on the phone. I'm not in the office all that often relative to when I'm checking email. I do have office hours. They vary semester to semester, but they will always be announced, and they will always be posted here in the syllabus. Textbook course materials. In all of my courses, we use what are called open education resources. Those are, in essence, textbooks, but they are textbooks that are either written or adapted by, in this case, the instructor, me. So what I've done is I've created OER for all of my sociology courses, and I make them available to students at no cost. Textbooks are ridiculously overpriced, and honest to God, I don't quite understand the justification for that. But years ago, I got tired of it and I stopped using them, and started creating these OER instead. So for all of my courses, there will be essentially a free textbook that will be available through Blackboard, and I'll show you where that is in just a bit. There will also be supplemental readings that get posted to Blackboard, also free. They are PDF documents. They will usually illustrate or dive into, with a little bit more detail, some of the themes that we're going to be exploring over the course of the semester. So we'll talk more about those when we get back into looking at the rest of the Blackboard site. Course description is what you would find in the course catalog. So when you were selecting classes, maybe you actually read some descriptions of the courses. This is just reproducing that. These student learning outcomes, these are the things that, regardless of who's teaching the class that you're taking, these are the outcomes that are specific to that class. So here, for example, there are 5 in some of my classes. There are more. But generally speaking, right, these are the things that if you were to take a Intro to Sociology class at Harper College, all Intro to Sociology classes will be using these outcomes. If you took a social problems class, regardless of the instructor, they would all have the same learning outcomes. That's a little bit different than course objectives. Course objectives, and I've listed my 3 course objectives here, course objectives are the things that I would like you to get out of the class as I teach it. So in addition to the learning outcomes, I'm also going to be emphasizing these 3 features, or sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 5. Again, it depends on the class. In this case, we've got developing a sociological imagination, understanding the value of empiricism, and becoming engaged citizens. So again, depending on the class that you're taking, these course objectives might be a little bit different, but they are going to be consistent with how I teach the class and what the ultimate goal or aims of that class would be. Course requirements, this is the stuff maybe that most of you are concerned about, which is what do I need to do to get a passing grade in the class? So there are 4 exams, 4 written assignments, 10 quizzes, and a participation grade. There's also extra credit. There are some conditions on the application of extra credit. I encourage everyone to read this material very quickly. Not quickly, I'm sorry. Read this material very carefully. And of course, if there are any questions, if anything in here is not as clear as it could be, there are many different ways in which you could seek out that clarity. There are discussion threads that you can post questions to. You can, again, send me an email. You could even call and leave a message, although that's going to get a less timely response than some of these other approaches. So read this carefully. This is fairly straightforward. I will point out a couple of things. The exams are not cumulative. The semester is divided up into 4 segments of roughly 4 weeks. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 5, but roughly 4-week segments across a 16-week semester. If you're taking an 8-week course, obviously it would be 2 weeks instead of 4 because it's half the time. But the semester is divided up into segments. At the end of each segment or module, you're given an exam. In the course of each module, you're writing a writing assignment. Over the course of each of these 4 modules, you're taking a handful of quizzes. So the organization of the assessments, which is what this page is really all about, the organization of the assessments as a reflection of the organization of the course. There are no makeup exams, so you take an exam that covers the module that immediately precedes it, whether that's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 5 weeks. It only covers that material, and then the next exam will cover the material that comes after that, but before the end of that second module, etc., etc. If you miss a test, and that happens, right? Things come up. If you miss a test, there are no makeups, but what you can do then at the end of the semester is take a comprehensive final exam. The comprehensive final exam is the same length and structure as the regular exams, but it covers all of the semester's material and not just one of the 4 modules. So you take that, you make up whatever score you get on that, replaces the 0 you have for the missed test. If you miss more than one test, then you're going to eat a 0 because there's only you can only apply your score on the final exam to one of your missing tests. So don't miss any tests, but if you are going to miss a test, only miss one. The benefit of not missing any tests is if you get to the end of the semester, you've taken 4 exams, but you're not happy with your score on one of those tests, you can use that comprehensive final to replace that low score, right? So let's say you got a 55 on a test and you're not happy with that at all, and you shouldn't be. You take the comprehensive final and you get a 72. The 72 replaces the 55 and essentially erases it, bringing your overall course grade up in a way that reflects that. By all means, make sure you take all of the tests and then keep that comprehensive final exam option in your pocket just in the event that you would need it. All right, so read through this. This is, again, fairly straightforward and I think clearly descriptive, but if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Week 1 skills assessments. These are going to be talked about in a subsequent video, so I'm just going to kind of gloss over that for right now. Grading, your grade is a function of a 100-point scale. So everything is, if you go back to the materials, 40 plus 40 plus 10 plus 10, that equals 100. So obviously a 60% to 69.9% would be a D. 70 to 79.9% would be a B, C, 80 to 89.9% would be a B, and 90 to 100% would be an A. But if you look here, you also see a little description of what that actually means, right? Sometimes when you get to this part of a syllabus, it's 0 to 100 points is a D. 101 to 200 points is a C. So I don't like that. I've never quite understood that when I get to the that part of a syllabus in a course that I'm taking. I'm always a little bit confused about what exactly that means. So what I've done here is I've kind of restated it as a kind of hierarchy of skills and abilities and knowledge, right? So if you complete all of the assignments with basically a minimal level of competence or knowledge, you get a D. If you can sort of be broadly familiar with the fundamental facts and knowledge of basic sociology, that's going to be sufficient for a C. If you can critically evaluate or independently apply those fundamentals, that'll be good enough for a B. And if, of course, you can do both of those things, that'll be good enough to get you an A. And I will go into a little bit more of this on the first day of class. We can talk about it at any point over the course of the semester. This is just, again, to give you just a little bit of a heads up. There is no curve, but that's okay. You don't really want a curve, and I explain here in the syllabus why you don't want a curve. What I do create is a modified grading scale, which I think is what most people want when they ask if there's a curve. The modified grading scale is a function of the highest possible number of points, which is always going to be 100. And the highest number of points earned by the highest point earner in the class. I don't know what that is, of course, until we get to the end of the semester, but I have an example of what that looks like, so you can kind of see that policy in action. This does not count extra credit. So if you have extra credit points for visiting success services, once, you would get 2 points. If you visit Success Services a second time, you get another 2 points. So the maximum amount of extra credit is 4 points, but on a scale of 0 to 100, remember that's half a letter grade. So it's actually quite a generous policy, even though 2 points or 4 points doesn't seem like a lot. Now, the condition for extra credit is that the average score of your 4 highest tests and assignments. So we take the 4 highest scores. Maybe it's 2 papers and 2 tests. Maybe it's 4 tests. Maybe it's 3 tests and 1 paper. But we take the highest scores and we take those 4 things and we create the average. If the average score on those four highest scores, 4 highest scoring exams and assignments is a 7 or higher, then if you have 2 points of extra credit or 4 points of extra credit, you can add those to whatever your total points are. All right. So again, make sure you read all of this carefully. The rest of this is fairly straightforward, right? So this next page talks about my responsibilities to you as the instructor. It also talks about your responsibilities as a student in my class, both to me and also to yourself. There's also a bit here about proper classroom conduct, and this applies whether we're talking about in-person instruction, online instruction, or some blended form of instruction. There are norms, there are rules that govern how you conduct yourself in the class with regard to your relationship with the instructor and your classmates, and obviously you're expected to sort of follow those. Also a little bit here about academic rigor. I teach a very rigorous class. Now, most people don't say rigorous, they say hard. I don't know that the class is hard. I know that the class will challenge you. I know that the class will get you to try to think about things in a way that you haven't necessarily thought about them before, or if you have thought about them that way before, that you hone and focus that ability or that skill. If I were only going to teach you things that you already knew, this really wouldn't be much of a class. You'd probably enjoy the high grade, but I'm intending to challenge you, and I'm intending to get you to sort of challenge yourself. And if you are game, if you do that, and you devote yourself to being responsible and staying current with the materials in the class, you should be fine. It's not an impossible class. It's not a class that people don't pass. I think the people who struggle in my classes are either people who don't take the class particularly seriously because they think, oh, it's about society. I've lived in society my whole life. What more could I know? And then of course you get knocked in the side of the head with a whole bunch of new things, and you're just not ready to sort of embrace all of that. Or there are some skill deficiencies, and skill deficiencies are things that we need to assess and recognize as early as possible. But the good news is, of course, that's kind of my job. So we're going to do what we can to assess your strengths, assess your limitations, and try to find a way to address those limitations so that nobody struggles in this rigorous class more so than being challenged by the material. All right, so the culture and policy stuff continues on the next page. It's got some deadline information in here for withdrawing from the class, some rules that govern how we communicate via email. Some other things. There's some links here in the document for various resources that are available from the college that are sort of designed to help ensure student success. So take a look at these. There's some broad general what we would call boilerplate language on COVID policies for as long as those remain in place until the next pandemic occurs, and then we'll kind of update that. A bit on academic honesty and equal opportunity, and then some broader sort of links and resources like Hawks Care and counseling services that are there, not specific to academics per se, but rather addressing your broader personal well-being, which, as you might figure, factors into your ability to focus and do well in your coursework. So the outline, which is the last, well, the calendar is the last thing, but the outline is essentially an expanded version of the calendar. This is basically how you're going to keep track of when things are due and what is due on what days. And so, it's a fairly straightforward course outline. You see the date, the things that you are responsible for being ready to do or having done by that date, as well as any assignments or other exams or assessments that would be available on that day. So again, kind of look through here. One thing I want to draw your attention to is you'll notice that each module has its own color code. So this first module is a kind of yellowish green. Second module is a kind of weird pinkish color, then a kind of orangish yellow for the third module, and a nice dark red for the fourth module. That color coding is going to be carried through in all of the outlines, in all of the OER chapters, in the color coding within Blackboard of various assignments. So it's just kind of there to help you kind of keep track of which module you're in and what assignment you're currently doing. And you can kind of see that reflected here in the course calendar as well. The little colored bar at the top tells you sort of what module you're in at that particular point in the semester. So that's the syllabus. And again, I encourage you guys to explore it just as I encourage you to explore the Blackboard site. I want to show you my contact information right here under faculty information. If you want to reach me via email, it's very easy. You can just go right here to faculty information and then click on this, and it will take you to whatever mail server you tend to use for sending email. And this way you don't have to worry about typing in this weird 8-character truncated version of my name. So it's very, very easy to put an H at the end of that, and then it goes off into the ether, or transpose the I and the L or something like that, and I don't get those messages. But if you just click the link and send it that way, I'm sure to get any email that you send me. This also has my office hours and the office location. Again, the phone number, and I think the phone number's pretty, I don't want to say useless, but again, it's not a very good way to get in touch with me. All right, most important thing over here on this left-hand side of the page is the course materials link. And if you click on that, you'll see all of the course materials are kind of laid out here in nice, neatly organized folders. If you click on the weekly modules, you'll see each week kind of laid out, see the color coding. So for example, in week 1, you're going to see a little list of the things that you're supposed to do, as well as folders that take you to the things that you need to complete. So each week, right? And these will be available a week before they're due, right? So the week 1 and week 2 folders will be available on the first day of class, because obviously we're in week 1 and week 2 is coming up. So that folder would be available. And in week 2, the week 3 folder becomes available, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a really, really easy way for you to keep current with the assignments and the expectations on a week-to-week basis. There's a folder that contains outlines. If you click on the link, you'll see a folder or a PDF file. You can download this, you can print it, you can do whatever you want with it. But this is basically a list of all of the things that we're going to be covering in the first module, right? All the way down to the very end, where you will see, got to get to the end, this one's a long one. You'll see the reading questions. I'll show you the readings in just a moment. Vocabulary terms that are from the chapter or the supplemental readings. These are not the same terms as appear in the actual outline. So for example, the definition for unobtrusive research is here. So it's not going to be reproduced here, even though you will find it in chapter 1. These terms right here are the terms from chapter 1 or from one of the supplemental readings that will only ever show up as vocabulary terms. And then there's there's a list of a couple of supplemental videos that you might want to watch that might help to clarify or underscore or emphasize and reinforce some of the material that we're talking about in the lectures and some of the material we're talking about in the chapter. I want to draw your attention to something real quick, and for that I'm going to have to go back to the weekly modules. Bear with me for a second. Go to week 2 here. If you go to the activities, so if you look at this activities description right here in the overview, the first thing you're going to be asked to do is watch these videos. One of the silver linings of the pandemic and our move to exclusively online instruction is we all ended up recording our lecture content. So what I've done is I've made the lecture content available for you to watch at your leisure, and as many times as you need to, while you take notes, while you try to understand it. So if you click on the activities folder, one of the things you'll see is a playlist, and everything is described. So make sure you read the descriptions if you're not sure what something is. Again, you can't break it by clicking on it, but if we click on the week 2 playlist, it's going to open up YouTube, and you see right here 2 videos, right? Sociology, social facts, and social determinism, which is the first video you're going to watch. And troubles or issues, the limits of a personal perspective, that would be the second one. Again, if you're taking a different class than intro, the titles might be a little bit different, and they certainly wouldn't say SOC101. You'll see the runtime for the videos, so you can tell whether they're long or short. But also, if you go back here to the outline, you'll see sociology, social facts, and social determinism, which is the title of the first video. And you'll also see the total video runtime here is 28 minutes and 33 seconds, which 28 minutes, I said 33, 23. There's a typo. They happen. Sorry, get over it. But anyway, so what you can do is you can use the timestamps here. 00, that's the beginning of the video, of course, so this is going to be at the very beginning. But if for whatever reason you want to just go back and listen to the stuff on social organization and the role of culture and structure, you know that starts at 12 minutes and 52 seconds. So if you open up this video, general focus of let me go back to the very beginning. You'll notice at the bottom there are places where the chapter is kind of divided up into, or the video is divided up into chapters, and you kind of see them here as well. So we go to that 12-minute and 52-second mark, social organization, culture, and structure, and it will jump forward to that, and you can kind of pick up there and run with that, and see what weird t-shirt I'm wearing that day. So this is all sort of designed to help you know where in the material you're going to find this particular information. And again, I'm trying to make this as accessible and as easy as possible, because again, the nature of sociology itself is going to be challenging enough. It shouldn't be a struggle for you to find where to find that information in the videos. So my recommendation is that if we're doing a face-to-face class, watch the video lectures before the meeting, before the class meeting. You've watched the material, you come in, and then we can spend that 75 minutes. We can spend that hour and a half, whatever it is, talking about anything that you didn't understand in the video, any questions that came up, any linkages that you think might be there between either something that's happening in the day-to-day world or elsewhere in the material. Maybe something in chapter 3 resonates with something you remember from chapter 1 and you want to talk about that. That way, I don't spend an entire 75-minute class meeting just talking. We can actually have a conversation. We can actually have interaction in which we talk about and find ways to synthesize your sociological understanding. So the resources are all set up to kind of work that way. All right, course readings, very straightforward. It's these are the course readings. So here's where you're going to find chapter 1 of that OER. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll find chapter 2 of the OER, chapter 3, and of course chapter 4. Again, all color coded. It also tells you when you need to read each part of the chapter. There are also these supplemental readings. If you click on these, you'll see they're just PDF documents. Some of them are kind of short, like the Berger and the Mills pieces are pretty short. Some of them can be quite long. It just sort of depends. But these are available from the very beginning of the semester. There is no penalty for reading ahead, but you're not required to. Don't create any more work for yourself than is necessary. If you click on the chapter, you see once again the color coding that I made reference to is reproduced here at the beginning of the chapter. This chapter is 18 pages long, which is not terribly long. So you scroll down, You get all the way to the very, very end, and you'll find, among other things, um, some some terms. These are the terms that appear at the end of that first outline. So all of the terms in the glossary have definitions. All of the terms in the outlines also have definitions. So one of the things that you're going to spend a lot of time in this class doing is basically learning the language of sociology. That's not easy, but it also by itself is not enough to get an A or a B. I equate this with let's say you memorize all the words in a Spanish language dictionary. That's great. That's super impressive. It's hard to do, but that doesn't mean you can have a conversation in Spanish, because you need to learn the rules, the grammar and the syntax by which all of those words get put together and conjugated and turned into things that are sensible and understandable to people with whom you want to communicate. Learning the words, learning the vocabulary of sociology is necessary to be able to do sociology, but knowing the words by themselves is definitely not going to be enough. So you want to make sure that you build that foundation, but that you also don't stop there. That you keep going and you push beyond that. Okay. Let's see. So course readings, let's see what else. We've got some readings of interest, some videos. These are things you can kind of explore on your own. You may be directed to go there sometimes, but mostly these are places where I'm going to end up putting things that I think might be helpful in reinforcing some of what you're learning, or that might just be generally interesting things to take a look at. Reading quizzes folders, where you're going to find the reading quizzes. I want to do a little bit of a discussion about quizzes when I show you the syllabus quiz and the week 1 skills assessment video. Also, same thing with assignment resources. So in the assignment resources, you've got some videos, you've got a link to the assignments that will be available as the assignments kind of roll out. They're not all going to be available on the first day of class. The first one will, but the other 3 will kind of roll out sequentially. What will be here from the very beginning is a description of what we mean by academic writing, as well as some guidelines for writing these written works. We're going to spend a lot of time in class workshopping on the writing assignments as well. I think that that's a skill that definitely needs cultivating. Some of you are probably pretty good writers. Most of you, like me, are not. And the way you get good at anything, of course, is practice. So there'll be lots of opportunities for that. Some examples, because some of us like to have things modeled for us, including myself. I really like seeing what people expect of me, so that I know kind of how to build my approach to an assignment. And this document shows you some good and bad examples of student writing that are actually submissions that I got from students, so warts and all. And then, of course, a rubric to explain both the value of what you're doing in terms of points, but also the goals. You want to demonstrate an ability to show me a term or a definition from the chapter glossary. So to do that, you're going to find the definition in the outline or the chapter glossary, and you're going to put it into a complete and grammatically correct sentence. So read through the rubric, because this spells out the expectations of the written assignments about as clearly as they can be. And of course, there's a video that walks you through some instructions and some tips on that. So please take an opportunity to watch that as well. All right, I think that covers everything I wanted to do in this video. As I said, there's another week 1 video for you to watch, which will be on the week 1 skills assessments. That will be mercifully a lot less lengthy and maybe a little less tedious than this one, but hopefully this gives you some good starting points for your exploration of the course and the Blackboard shell for the course. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And until next time then, let me get out of here. Take you back to my cat and my stupid t-shirt. So until the next time, I'll just say goodbye. Have a good one.